Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Vice President and CIO, Alaska Airlines, Charu Jain, in discussion with editor Skift Airline Weekly, Madhu Unikrishnan.
All right. Good afternoon. Thanks for joining us, Charu.
Thank you.
And once again, I'm standing between you and food, so I apologize and ask for your patience. If you have any questions, please submit them on the app, and you can vote thumbs up on them, and we'll try and get to them. So, Charu, I just wanted to start off with airline technology integration, which is notoriously difficult. And I wanted to know if could you walk us through what's involved and what's left in the process with your merger with Virgin America?
Sure. Well, thank you for inviting me. I'm so glad to be here. So first of all, I've been fortunate enough to be involved in 3 airline mergers and have had the opportunity to learn a lot from that. And that's really code word for I'm a glutton for punishment. Technology is one of 2 things that can really make or break a merger. And so everybody's really worried about it. And success is don't end up in the news. That's what we go for. But when you look at the airline, there's many different business processes in the airline, from the flight operations, all the guest-facing reservations, getting on flights, maintenance and engineering. So when you start looking at how do you bring all of that together, so from a technology point of view, when we did the merger for Alaska and Virgin America, we had 450 systems on the Alaska side, 250 on the Virgin side, 7 data centers in total, 2 different networks, different technologies everywhere. So when you start thinking of bringing it together, one of the learnings has been how do you create sort of this master plan of what should go first, second, third. And so as soon as you announce the merger, everybody in the company wants to move ahead. And you can only bring your business processes together when the technology comes together underlying it. And I make it sort of equal to, you're on a horse race, so everybody's ready to go out of the gate, but the track hasn't even been laid yet. So what we did is, with the Alaska Virgin America, we sort of stepped back and said, if you really look at the technology pieces, what are some of the anchor systems that have to go, that are customer-facing reservations, operations, and then what makes sense to go first, second, or third, because of the dependencies between them. Because you pick one out of the 450, well, it still has to talk to at least 100 more systems, so you just cannot pick and move it over. And based on that, we laid out a plan. So it was very clear to say, okay, these systems need to go first, these second, third, and then these over here can go anytime. And what that did is, then the businesses kind of knew when they could get integrated. So that made it a lot more planful, and a lot less having to rethink it every step of the way. Where we are is we're 2.5 years. We finished all our technology integration, that's customer guest-facing, operations, and really at this point, from a technology point of view, it's really our maintenance and engineering organization that keeps up the planes. That's remaining.
Were there any commonalities in systems between Virgin America and Alaska?
You would think so.
Right.
In all my mergers, what I found is there is not that much, even though we're all trying to do the same thing. I know you've mentioned we had Sabre as our reservation system on both sides, and that helps in a certain way, but I got to tell you, each airline had implemented it a different way. How Sabre talked to the other airline systems was in a different way. Mm-hmm. So there was still a lot of complexity to deal with, but maybe not as much if we're going across 2 different providers.
Right. So you said most of the customer-facing systems have been integrated.
Everything customer-facing. And then if you look at our product, there's a lot of what you see. I think at all airports now there's one brand. All the planes have now been painted, so externally is all the same brand. Internally, we're really bringing the best of Virgin America and Alaska together. So our new planes, you'll have the music, you'll have the mood lighting, mix of the food. Our new interiors have tablet holders. a cup holder, which is really exciting, so you have the whole tray in front of you that you can use for other things. So we're really trying to bring both aspects of the brand together.
Right. Well, that's a good segue into something we discussed a few minutes ago, and that is where you are with in-flight entertainment. So you're moving away from the Virgin America seatback screen, correct, and moving towards a different system?
Yeah, so I think our strategy is really to enable it on your device. So we offer free movies, free texting as part of our product. And we want to offer it on your device. And then on certain long-haul flights, we have tablets that you can rent. But we found that that's much easier and more personalized to you to be able to do that. So you will see the seat back. The seat back is a lot of cost and weight on the airplane that's being carried. And we're trying to bring a lot of those things into the app now. So one of the things Virgin had done really well was the meal ordering through the seat back if you've traveled. And so that is one thing we have in our roadmap to do through the mobile app.
Oh, so that's coming back?
At some point in time, yes.
the on-demand food ordering, right?
Yes. Yeah, we have pre-order meals today that you can do before the flight.
Right.
Now it's more like how would we do it during the flight.
Huh, yeah. That's interesting. What other ways are you using technology to enhance the customer experience?
Sure. I mean, when you look at the airline business, it's all centered around the guest. I know sometimes it doesn't feel like that when you're traveling. So we really need to look at everything from the guest point of view and understand their point of view. And their point of view is actually being influenced by a broader ecosystem, right? So their retail expectations are, influenced by Amazon, and it's very easy to transact. We have choice. They want their time at the airport and in flight to be like sitting at a Starbucks or maybe shopping at a Whole Foods. So we need to understand from different industries, and then on top of that, the best experience, the last best experience they have becomes their minimum expectation everywhere. So how do you become all of those things that you're experiencing? And that's where technology comes in. So we're focused on all our employees have mobile devices. So we're putting more and more actionable insights so that they can continue providing that genuine, warm, caring service and do it even better. We're very focused on how do we remove, friction. So how do we provide a hassle-free experience? So we look at all points of friction: bag drop, security, boarding, when there's delays and cancellations, and how can we really remove friction? I mean, a lot of the companies that you've seen that have disrupted an industry have come in from addressing a point of friction, like Airbnb or Lyft and Uber. So we're very cognizant of that. We also want to make sure that our guest interaction with us at any point, whether it's digital or at a physical property like an airport or an in-flight, is all seamless and continuous. So it's not like I'm a guest at the airport and I'm different on the flight and I'm different when I'm at digital or calling the call center. So it's all very continuous and streamlined, and it's consistent. So wherever you interact with us, you get that same consistent experience, and it's relevant. So we know you, we get you. And that, I think, is really going to make that difference of, becoming, I'm going to reuse this word, but that's what we're using, is guest-centric. It's all about the guest. Our systems are then focused on the guest, not on the flights or the reservation. So you're going to start to see more of this as we evolve our airports and in-flight, the gates and the lobby. You'll see more of these values reflected. And what we're trying is really that our guests enjoy the journey also, and just not look forward to the destination.
Right. If we could bring up the slide behind us. So I think Alaska, if I'm correct, Alaska has the distinction of being the first airline in the world to sell tickets online, right? So if we look at the slide, air transportation lags behind other sectors of the travel industry in terms of distribution and purchasing tickets. What are some of the ways that you're exploring to increase the percentage of passengers who shop for travel online?
Yeah, so actually our online direct bookings are very good. We don't share the number, but they are one of the leading ones. And what we found is we're really not doing anything specific to attract online booking. Our finding is really our loyal guests are the ones that come to the website because they get value out of it. So our focus is really on building that loyalty, and that's what's attracting our guests to our book on our website directly, as well as on our mobile.
Are there other sort of technologies you're using to help passengers shop? I mean, mobile, voice, text?
Mobile is one. I think voice is an interesting one for us. We pride ourselves on our people, right? They're really the secret sauce. So we want to make sure that everything that we do is really adding to those capabilities and that genuine caring service that they provide, and give our guests the option to say, do you want to interact with us through a person or through self-service? So voice is something that we're still looking at, but we're not leaning into. But mobile and definitely online direct.
And do you see for lack of a better term, a generational difference in the way customers shop for travel on Alaska? I mean, as an example, say my father would prefer to pick up the phone and call and make a reservation. I'm perfectly happy to book my own tickets online. Somebody 20 years younger than me probably, God knows what they do. Yeah, right.
Yeah, well, we just launched a web chat yesterday, and we have texting. And I think all of these are towards providing option. So we want it to be your choice how you want to interact with us. And there's definitely generational differences, but there's also just kind of, location and what you're used to. So that's where choice is very important.
And that brings up another thing I wanted to ask you about, and how you're personalizing the travel experience using technology.
So we're trying to make it relevant to you. So making sure that how we're interacting with you in the moment has the context around it. So when it's out of context, that's when it gets creepy.
Right.
So if it's valuable to you, it's giving you something you need in that moment, whether it's where you're trying to book or where you've been impacted in any way. And so our focus is really using those capabilities.
And does this apply to the use of mobile devices and the data that flight attendants or in-flight crew have to enhance the passenger experiences?
Yes, and that's one of the things I mentioned we're adding on to. So any data that we're getting, we're now building insights out of it and offering it to our employees so that they can either recognize you or recognize a milestone that's coming up, or even when you've been impacted, acknowledge it or try to resolve it. So those are all the steps that we're trying to get towards.
And with the way you have it now, how do you find that passengers have reacted to personalization?
I think it depends on the passenger. Some people don't like it. I don't think we're ever going to say, "Do you want your 4th glass of red wine?" or something. But I think if it's in the context of "you're helping me," we found it to be something people are open to.
Right. And where are you sort of using technology on the operational side of the business?
So a couple of recent announcements that we made. One is our partnership with API Jets, and that's really to commercialize the NASA TASR technology. And what it does is it's like Waze in the air. So it helps pilots do real-time flight plan changes based on weather and other things. So that's very exciting because it reduces fuel, it leads to better operational performance. So that's one of the areas we're excited about. And then in our maintenance and engineering area, we have a lot of senior technicians that are retiring, and new technicians that are coming in have to come up to speed quickly. So we've partnered with Microsoft on their HoloLens technology with augmented reality to really supplement training of the technicians with virtual task cards so they can get more comfortable with what they need to do faster.
And how's the implementation of that going?
It's actually been very welcomed by people. Even the senior people are really excited to use it to help the junior people, and the junior people are feeling much more comfortable with what they have to do.
So in the time we have left, I want to switch gears a little bit and ask you, you are both in the technology industry, but you're also a leader in the airline industry, two industries that historically have had trouble attracting and retaining women in the workforce. What as a CIO, what do you think both the airline industry and the technology industry need to do to attract and retain more women?
Sure, this is a subject close to my heart. I do find it interesting. I think 5 of the top 6, 7 airline CIOs are now women.
In North America.
In North America.
Right.
So I think that's a pretty amazing fact for an industry that's maybe largely male-led. And we all were together one time, so that was very exciting. I think 2 things. One is, we need to start earlier in the education process to demystify technology, and it's not the nerdy, glass and pocket protector or the black hoodie guy. It's really how we make technology more exciting at that younger age. And one of the things we've done is we've partnered with Hour of Code to develop some games or programs. So as we go visit a lot of schools, we encourage the kids to interact with technology that way, and then it's sort of, oh, this is what technology is about. It's not just about what they think it is. So changing those social norms and cultural norms that are out there, but getting much further back into the education cycle. By the time they're in high school or college, they've already got a pretty firm, opinion on wanting to get into this field or not. But that's where the pipeline is, the high school and the college areas. So. We do a lot of partnerships. I'm on the board of a couple of organizations where we're trying to expand our pipeline to look for people in other areas where there's opportunity youth or more women that will come into the pipeline. But I think the second thing is really how do you keep them there?
Right.
So, diversity, you may get them in the door, but I think the culture aspect of really how do you make sure there's opportunities for them to grow, there's an understanding of how people are different and an understanding of it. We actually do something called Courageous Conversations within our group, and I've invited other people from the company, which is about, let's just talk about some of these things, like whether it's pay equality or whether it's time off, or how do you make a recruiting decision when you have two candidates, one diverse, one not. And maybe there's not an answer, but the fact that you're open to having that discussion, I think people feel that inclusion is there. And then obviously, 47 to 50% women enter the workforce, and by the time you get to the C-suite, it's 20%.
Right.
And for women of color like me, it's 3%. So we need to get more people so that people see role models that they aspire to be. So it needs to be attacked at many levels.
Right. And what do you think besides Alaska, what do you think companies in general can do to enhance diversity and inclusion, not beyond women in the workforce, but minorities and other groups that are not traditionally either technology or the airline industry?
No, I think, you have to have people like you in there, so you've got to get some people in the door so that people then see it. Our board of directors, even before it became a thing, was 50% women, which was a big factor for me. So I think you've got to model what you're talking about and then offer incentives and benefits that actually then attract those people. So for women to come in, how do you handle leave, family leave, the kind of work that you're asking them to do. So you have to focus on those things.
Great. That's a good place to stop and take some audience questions. If we could, let's see. Here's one that has, how does Alaska create a seamlessly branded experience through customer engagement through notifications?
Yes, so we have a lot of opportunities to do better in customer notifications, and that's one of the focus areas to make sure that we're giving you relevant communication, the right information at the right time for the right reason. And so you should see us sort of getting better at that over time, even during this year.
when you say getting better at, or do you mean the different channels that you reach the customer?
No, I would say, not getting gate changes 6 hours before the flight, right? It doesn't mean anything to you. So what are the things you care about when you're at the airport? What are the kind of things you care about before you're at the airport? And at what point is it relevant to you to get a notification? So really using our tools to say not just that the information is available, but what is the right point to deliver it to you? And that's where I think the it'll feel more like it's relevant and valuable as a guest.
What specific technological enhancements have you implemented to drive online bookings?
So as I mentioned, I don't think we've done specifically anything to say we want to drive online bookings. What we found is if we drive loyalty, our loyal members are coming and booking on us. And then obviously our partners, we're working with our partners, our international partners, which extend our reach to 900 destinations to actually book them on as.com. So.
Well, that's interesting. You mentioned your loyal customers, but how do you reach what sort of, is there a tech solution to reach the customer that flies once a year?
Yes, and I think that's what, there's nothing that we're doing right now to reach that one customer that flies us once a year. It's more the experience that they get from our people, and we're really about our genuine caring service. So we want that to be the leader with technology supporting it.
Got it.
I want to answer the onboard compute and connectivity.
Oh yeah, let's go with that. As the onboard experience fidelity increases, how do you think about enhancing the onboard compute and connectivity?
So we will be rolling out satellite connectivity from GoGo. And I think we have a few planes out there already, but by the end of 2020, we should have it on all of our planes. So we think that's going to be really beneficial to our guests to have that satellite connectivity.
Will that be over water as well?
Pardon me?
Will that be over water?
Yes, yes, and it'll be from gate to gate.
Oh, wow.
So you don't have to shut it off at 10,000 feet. So you'll be able to enjoy it all the way.
This is an interesting one. How are you using data to provide... Where'd that go? Oh, how are you using data to provide offers to customers who didn't have a great experience in order to retain their loyalty?
So I would say we have a lot of data, and we have that data now. And now it's really understanding. I mean, when we have a flight irregularity, we're right away able to offer something to the customers back as an exchange of it. And then when we look at points of contention at every touch point that guests have, and then proactively try to reach out to the guests that are impacted. And we need to do a better job at that, because some of you might come to say that didn't happen to me. And really make it something that we do all of the time and then resolve in the situation.
Great. Well, that's a good place to stop.
Okay.
Thank you so much for your time, for joining us.
Thank you.